Welcome back, everybody. So we have some gruesome discoveries in the case of 18-month-old Kytana Ancog. We still do not have proof of what we're going to talk about today, and it's just so sad because what we have is a confession, which is what we anticipated. It's what we expected. Travis Rodrigues went in around noon for questioning about the disappearance of his daughter, and by 5 o'clock p.m. he had been arrested. So this whole time we had thought that he probably confessed, and we see now that that is what happened. And then only within 7 hours, one of his friends was arrested for hindering prosecution, and we anticipated that his friend hid the body, hid some evidence, hid something that would stop police from finding out that this was a murder. And that's what we suspected all along. And it looks as if that is what the confession detailed. New court documents, according to Hawaii News Now, state that we have a witness in the case. It doesn't mention who that witness is, but it says that the witness told police that he saw Kytana full of bruises and blood, and that when he asked Travis Rodrigues about the case, Travis said that the blood on her face was just chocolate and that she had bruises from falling in the shower. Apparently, February 4th, on or around February 4th, we can't really be sure. I imagine that's because he was high on crystal meth. And all we know is the court documents that were submitted. I saw the video today of him at his he had a virtual meeting with the judge. Basically, he requested that there would be a reduction in bail. That reduction in bail was denied. In those court documents, it said that he called his friend, who was the second man that was arrested, and his friend told him that he would take care of the body. He knew that the child was dead and that Travis Rodrigues put the baby in a duffel bag and gave it to him, and his friend took the body to dispose of it, which is why we haven't found one yet, which is why we don't have evidence of the murder. And I know that sounds insensitive, but we can't. ICE heads have said crazier things, especially when being interrogated. So because we don't have the body, this still feels like unsettled, uncertain, but we do know that he had confessed, and that's why he was arrested. They had the probable cause because of the confession, and we have a witness. So eyewitness testimony is important, and that person must have filled out an affidavit or a statement. In the Honolulu Police Department, we call it a 252. It's basically just a witness statement. And for it to be admissible in court, it has to be documented, and the person has to be willing to testify. So somebody filled something out in addition to Travis' confession that they saw the baby bruised and bloodied. Apparently, this witness also saw Travis give the baby crystal meth. I don't know if it was smoke or if he injected it, but it says a meth pipe. So the witness told police that the father tried to give the child a meth pipe and said, "That's what she like." It's so hard to hear. Apparently, the witness reported seeing Rodrigues slap, kick, and swear at the toddler, who's only a year and a half old, 18 months old. It's a horrible abuse and murder case of an innocent little baby. And it's just crazy that we live in a world where this happens. The witness left the home of Travis Rodrigues and returned the next day to to see the child was dangling as if lifeless and that the father was smoking meth and looked high. My assumption is they were smoking ice together, which is why the witness probably initially never came forward. They were probably smoking ice together, and that's why they were hanging out. The witness is probably at the house smoking ice, saw the baby bloody, saw the baby bruised, saw him try to give the baby meth, and then left, and then came back the next day probably to smoke more ice, which is pretty typical, and then saw the baby lifeless, dangling. I don't know if that means from the father's arms or if it means like from the couch, but it was dangling, lifeless. In Rodrigues' own statements, Rodrigues admitted to hitting and squeezing the girl until she was lifeless. He believed she was dead but did not call police. He confessed to wrapping the child's body in a bedsheet and placing it in a duffel bag. He then allegedly met with another man, 48-year-old Scott M. Carter, who agreed to give Rodrigues a ride to the acquaintance's house with the girl's body still in the car. And then Rodrigues told police that he stayed at that house while Carter drove off with the baby's body. And before leaving, Carter allegedly told Rodrigues, "Don't worry about it, I'll take care of it." He's on $2 million bail. Carter got $1 million for hindering prosecution. Now we know why he wasn't charged with murder. He probably will catch more charges. We do have charges in Honolulu about moving corpses. And if this baby was dead at the time, they will get him on those charges as well. Probably abuse of a corpse. And whatever he did. There's going to be like destruction of evidence. They both made their court appearances today. We haven't seen Kytana in, I think, 16 days, 17 days. That's the last time she was seen alive. And approximately 5 days after, her mom, Ashley Ancog, dropped her off at Rodrigues' IAEA home. The canines and the police are still searching for the body. It's not been recovered. It's such a sad outcome, and my prayers go out to the family and everybody involved. It's so sad. One thing that I did notice when I was looking up Travis Rodrigues, and I want to address a few things that we talked about in the video yesterday. We don't know initially why the grandmother said she didn't know who Rodrigues was. But apparently she didn't know his new name. So right now that's the kind of the rumor, the word that's floating around, is that when they asked about him, they had asked about him under his legal name. And she had never heard the Heffelinger name. But she knew Travis Rodrigues. So there's probably nothing to her not knowing him. That was probably just, they asked about some dude with the last name. Still seems sketch. Like if they said Travis, she knows who a Travis is. So I don't know where that's going, but that's probably what happened. They just asked about the legal name, which is the name that apparently he had changed like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that. Some of you have DM'd me and told me the story about how he changed his name because you guys knew him. I've been seeing comments, a lot of DMs. People have said that they saw him in jail. They knew him from jail. And I found out just a year ago, if you search his name, you'll see that he was wanted for armed robbery, an armed robbery that took place in 2018. It was a gunpoint robbery. And just a year ago, there was a Crime Stoppers warrant issued for robbery first with a gun. So I don't know why he's not in jail. Obviously, he was RPI'd or RNC'd, we call release no charge. I don't know. I can't see his criminal. I don't have his rap. But either way, he's not in jail for that robbery. And that was robbery first is an A felony. It is right up there with rape. It's right up there with kidnapping. It's the highest crime besides murder that you can get in Honolulu. It's an A felony. So he can get 15, 20 years on that charge, but for some reason he's out and about. And he's smoking ice. So that should tell you right there. Should highlight some of the problems that Hawaii has with their justice system. It's so frustrating because I cannot tell you how many times I arrested somebody where when I run his name, the dispatcher comes back and says, he's got 100 priors, 60, 70 felonies. More felonies than the amount of years that they were alive. That's more than a felony a year. It's hard to wrap your brain around. It's so crazy. You got to imagine what it feels like when I run a rap warrant on the radio. So I'm standing with this guy. I'm stopping him for whatever reason I have, right? He's somewhere he's not supposed to be. He's trespassing. He's in the park after hours. Traffic stop. Jaywalking. Whatever. I have probable cause to be with him. I observed a violation. I stop him. I ask him for ID. Normally they lie, but even if he gives me his name or I find out who he is, or maybe I already knew who he was, which happened all the time, I run his name and they say 60 felonies. Can you imagine, like, you're standing there looking at this guy and he's got 60 felony arrests? That is so frustrating for a police officer. Feels like you're spinning your wheels. It's insane to me. And then the worst part is, like, the cops get the rap. They get a bad rap because these guys are out in the street. So many times I hear people say things like, HPD's not doing nothing. Where's HPD when you need them? But dude, that's a shot to the gut. You feel gut shot. When a dude gets released, I'm still typing reports. I've arrested dudes for felonies. Big felonies. Type my report 3-4 hours later when I come back down and turn my report into the desk where the body's being held, where the arrestee's being held. And they tell me that the dude's already went home. RPI'd. It's insane. I got hurt once by a dude. I fought a dude on the Alawai Canal. I told this story before. And before I made it out of the hospital that night, driving home from the hospital, I see that dude jaywalking across the street in front of me. I got out of Queens, went to the station to turn all my stuff in. I'm driving home. I take Beretania Eva bound, and I turn Malka on Punch Bowl to get on the freeway. And here he is, Vineyard and Punch Bowl, walking Eva bound on Vineyard. Right in front of my car. He'd already been released. And he fought and injured a police officer. Par for the course. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. All you that are in the chat right now. Kapoi Kai Lions. Why doesn't Hawaii have the death penalty? I got nothing. I got nothing, guys. This is why you need the death penalty. Hawaiian Soul. Hi, Doug. New info came out for the dad. He shook and killed her, wrapped her in a sheet and duffel. So sad. I'm heartbroken for the Ohana. Me too. It's heartbreaking. Now, of course, the next question and what we start right away where your mind goes is what's up with the mom? I don't know. We talked about this yesterday and I said you got to be slow to judging the mom. I know that this information made it harder. It made it for me. I was the one just yesterday saying, you got to take it easy on her. You don't know what was going on. And then you find out that he just robbed somebody at gunpoint a year ago. He's smoking ice. You know when somebody's smoking ice. Go ahead. If any one of you out there that had somebody that was smoking ice and you didn't know, somebody close to you smoking ice and you had no idea, go ahead, I'll wait. Be hard pressed to find somebody. From my experience, it's hard to hide a meth addiction. It's 0 to 60 real fast. They start stealing, they're acting funny, they're talking fast, they're not sleeping. You see it in their face, they're real gaunt. It's hard for me to believe that she didn't know he was smoking ice. But it may be that she hadn't talked to him in a while and he wanted to see the baby. You know what I mean? That's why I'm saying this, because I want you to know that I sympathize with the feelings that people have, the frustrations about the mom. But the truth is, I've been wrong more than I've been right when I jump to conclusions. So I don't know. So I'm still an advocate. Take it easy on the mom. We don't know what happened yet. Wait till it all comes out. The police, they know. It's not that they haven't asked these questions. They just haven't released the answers. Remember, she was the first one that they talked to. So there's not a question that you and I have been asking that they weren't asking. So I still say everybody's got to take it easy on the mom. She's already dealing with enough. She didn't kill that baby. That's still her baby. That's her baby girl. It's a tough one. So, Kim said this has got to be the worst, saddest thing ever. I agree. And it's so gruesome to say, but at least she's not in pain. At least she's not being tortured. That girl was tortured. 18-year-old baby. All she wants is love. She trusts everybody. She's getting beaten, kicked, and then smothered, squeezed until she was dead, given crystal meth. She was bloody, bruised. That's torture. And it's not a stretch to say she wasn't being fed. That was 5 days after that mom dropped the baby off. People, when they're on crystal meth, when they smoke an ice, they're not thinking about food. And then the ironic part about it is that when they're fiending, when they don't have the meth, when they're fiending for the drug, they're not thinking about food. Because all they want is the drug. They could have not eaten in 5 days, and you give them $10, they're going to go spend it on ice. So I doubt the baby was eating. So sad. It leaves everybody sad and mad. That's most of the comments. It's hard to comprehend what happened. But this is another slap in the face to police officers, because this fool was arrested for robbery. He was taken in, brought into custody for robbery first. He'd just been out of prison when he did it. What's he doing out? They got to seriously consider changing how we prosecute criminals and how we punish them. Kanaka Hawaii said, why would the baby's mother even take her baby to a person like this, even if he's the father? I don't know. I really don't know. None of us do. Straight out, Aloha says, somebody go licking then. He's going to get it. You watch. Pamela Santos Bermudez says, we have a failed justice system and still Hawaii citizens don't regularly vote to change this. As mad as everyone is, and you don't vote, it's your fault too. Well said. Kim said, I don't know how you stayed sane through all you've seen, but I respect you more than ever for your work here. Well, I'm out there working. There's officers that stayed. And you wonder, we often talked about the frustrations. I'll never forget when I was in academy, our sergeant, someone asked a question and said, how did you deal with the frustration of people not going to jail for crimes you arrested them for after you've seen the evidence and you wrote the reports? And he showed us a video without explanation, really. And the video was about a father who, it was a hidden camera, something like that. It was footage from a crime. And it showed the dad preparing to videotape unknowingly his son. And he was doing horrible things to his son. And he'd been doing it for years. And by the time a family member found the video camera and everything came out in the open, that he had been basically sexually assaulting his own son for a decade, the boy was already an adult. So none of the footage that they had of the hidden camera footage, none of it was of when he was less than 18. But he'd been doing it for a decade. And now it was so normal to the kid that he didn't want to testify. And so the dad didn't go to jail. Even though we had evidence. You need a complainant. You need a victim. The victim wouldn't testify, and the worst part is sexual assault victims, they repeat the crimes that were perpetuated on them. Most sexual assault suspects have been sexually assaulted. The data shows it. It's clear. So now this kid is out. Messed up, probably a psychopath. And he's going to do it to someone else. And there's no recourse for the father. Father's still out there, walking the streets of Kalihi. And when he showed that video, it messed with all the recruits' heads. The video wasn't of any of the crimes. The video was just, it showed context. It showed that it was a hidden camera. And it was like, I saw what was coming. And he stopped the video and he said, what happened after this was horrible. And this guy walking the streets. I don't know if it was a case he was on or what. I just remember it changed your whole brain. Because you realize, what am I doing? He said, that's the Ninth Circuit for you. Said, you're a police officer in a circuit. It's the hardest circuit to be a part of and convict criminals. If I was a criminal, I would want to go to court. Don't skip bail. If you get arrested, don't skip bail. Just fight it. You can get off. It's easy to be a criminal in Hawaii. Those are facts. And they know it. Criminals are as good at criminaling as cops are at copping. It becomes this game. It's like warfare. Who's going to win? Who screws up first? Technicalities the whole way. And then I've heard 100 times when I was on the beat of officers say, what's the point? You going to hook him for that? You going to arrest him for that? What's the point? He's going to get off. And I'm going to spend 5 hours typing that report? It's insane. I had a sergeant once. I walked by a car. I seen an Uzi sitting on the dashboard right in front of the library on King Street. What is that, Richards? King and Richards? I'm walking. I seen a car. Doors open. They're just hanging out. Look suspicious. Thought I saw a gun. But I was like, no. Did I just see that? So I park my car. I get out. I walk down the public sidewalk. He's parked on the Eva side, facing Mackay, facing the water. So I'm walking with the car. Walk up on the car. I look inside. I see a Uzi on the dashboard. Bullets in the center console. So I stopped the guys. And when I called my superior to tell him about the case I had, he said, you don't have enough to arrest him. The car was a closed container. When I made checks, that Uzi was fake. But it didn't have an orange tip. It looked like a real Uzi. I was just doing my job. Seen the Uzi? I saw a 90-year-old grandma with her granddaughter holding her hand walking by. Car door was open, blocking the pedestrian traffic. So they were walking around the car door. I had so many reasons to stop him. And I was told that it's probably not going to go because a car is considered a closed container. First of all, that's not how the law was written. But the department and the prosecutors got sergeants so worried about culpable liability that they're afraid to take, that's too much of a risk for them. 95% of my supervisors were solid, good to go. Had one. Maybe 1.5 that were scared of their own shadow. They never like get in trouble, so they don't want to take the case. Refer it. Write it in a report. Don't arrest them. Give them a court date. Cops are afraid to do their jobs because they're going to get in trouble. Sergeants are afraid to sign things because they're going to get in trouble. They're worried about brass. All I hear right now from officers is that it's a different department since when I left. I've been gone 3 years. Not even 3 years. 32 months. I guess it's a different department. It was already going downhill. I could see it. Officers feel like criminals. They type a report. They're worried that when they submit it, someone's going to find something wrong, and then they're going to get written up or catch a case. That's real talk. Good officers. Officers that do work. They seen what happened to Albert Lee. When you spend so many years of your life looking up to an officer, wanting to be like that officer, and stuff happens to him like that, it's insane. I know I just vented a lot of frustrations, but I feel bad because I know good people, good friends of mine, people that are like my brothers. Kai Bull 7 said, I bet that witness feels bad. Yeah, probably. But also, my assumption is they were smoking ice. How many people you know watch somebody smoke ice and don't smoke ice with them? How many times, if you don't smoke ice, how many times you watched a friend smoke ice with their 18-month-old daughter? Giving the daughter ice. Seen blood on the face, bruises everywhere, and you're going to take the, oh, that's chocolate. She slipped and fell in the shower. Go ahead, I'll wait. You've watched somebody smoke ice and you weren't smoking it with them. Bro, you don't smoke ice and someone's smoking ice, you're goners. You're gonna hele. So people who hang around people smoke ice and don't leave while they're smoking ice also smoke ice. I know I'm generalizing, but that's been my experience. Tater Monkey said, I'm not getting my notifications. I know. My wife isn't getting notifications either. I don't know what that's about. That's frustrating. So I don't know what to tell you on that one. I checked her phone. She's got she's subscribed. She got notifications on all. She's still not getting them. So Kale said that Kale said his coworker was recently tested positive for meth. Had no clue she was on it until one day she was mumbling and fidgety. Reported it to management and they tested her. That's when we knew. See, so you did notice she was mumbling and fidgety. Just 3 weeks ago, I build homes now. Just 3 weeks ago, I had a contractor show up. And I knew he was on ice. I knew he had just smoked ice. And I couldn't tell you why. I couldn't give you proof. But I've been around thousands of them. And I could smell it. You can smell an ice head. And then the way he was talking and everything, it's just your typical ice head behavior. It's that fidgety, mumbly. They don't do that on crack. Ma'a doesn't do that to you. That's strictly Batu. You don't even get that with heroin. It's very distinct. You will know if somebody's smoking meth. Unless you're just ignorant to the fact that people smoke meth and you just think they mumble. Miss Horner said, hi, I'm late. It's okay. I'm glad you came out. I'm glad you made it. Tater Monkey said probably why he didn't want to testify. He was doing it himself. Yeah, that's why. That's my guess. That's what we have right now. So somebody else that didn't get the notifications. So do me a favor, make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. If you hit the subscribe button, it's not going to do anything. You're not going to get notifications. You got to ring the bell. Make sure if you're on your phone, select all. You can do it right now while you're watching the video. You can hit subscribe, you can ring the bell and go to all. And then you should be getting notifications. If you don't, comment, and I get all the comments, I read all the comments, and I'll get them. And then we'll try figuring something out. Kai Bull 7 said, used to live Wilder Ave. Saw some nut stuff late at night. Wilder was a hot spot. I spent plenty of time on Wilder. If you take Wilder all the way to Punahou, just before, if you head, if you're coming from town and you head Cocoa Head bound on Wilder, just before you get to Punahou, there's, on the left, there's an apartment complex where the canal runs parallel to Wilder. And underneath that canal, people used to jump down and then walk that canal. You could make it literally all the way out to Nu'uanu. And I used to walk it. When the water was low, we used to walk them. I bought boots just to go in there. Most of the time it was dry. But I've seen gnarly stuff on Wilder. Plus you got all those apartments. And the rent is cheap. And don't park your car over there. That's for sure. Or just leave the door open. Don't leave anything in it. The worst you'll get is when homeless chronic fall asleep in your car. But at least they're not going to break your window. Honestly, that's my advice. If you park your car Wilder, you park your car up above the freeway. Nehoa, you park your car anywhere where you got tons of buildings. Young Street, King, Beretania, Kapiolani. Just leave them open. Leave them open and don't leave anything in your car. This way they're going to check they don't have to pop your lock. They just open it up. They go through it. If they don't climb in and fall asleep, which I'm not kidding you, I can't count on two hands how many times I found a homeless chronic sleeping in somebody's car. They called and said, somebody's in my car. Out cold. Jovan Lopez. No way. $20. Jovan, thank you. Thank you for that. That's a huge blessing. Thank you very much. I'm grateful for that. That's amazing. That generosity is awesome. Thank you. Phil Bell says, officers are criminals. They're on the take. I don't know what happened to you. I'm sorry it happened. And I wish you didn't think that. But I know there's nothing I can say that's going to stop what you think about that. I wasn't a criminal. And I didn't take anything. And I never saw anyone take anything. And I knew thousands of officers. I've seen officers be overbearing, antagonistic. I've seen them be disrespectful. I've seen them blow up on people they shouldn't have. I've seen them have attitude. I've seen them flex. I've been there when I was arresting somebody, an officer shows up, flexes on my suspect. Maybe because he dug out from him once and he lost him and he's all salty. I've seen all that stuff happen. But that's a huge gap between what that is and being a criminal. So if we're going to talk like this, let's be honest. Words have meaning. Officers are not criminals and are not on the take. But I don't hate you for saying that, Phil. And I appreciate you coming on here. I appreciate you commenting. Because I want the back and forth. But honestly, I never saw that. And I wasn't just some patrolman on the peripherals of what was really going on. I've worked in plenty of units. I've worked personally with hundreds of police officers. In the grimy, dirtiest, sketchiest parts of Chinatown. In the poo-poos of Waipahu. In Waianae. In Kalihi. The scariest places that you wouldn't want to go. With the cops that work there every day, and I didn't see that. So I respectfully disagree with you. And I hope that you stick around long enough and you catch a flavor of my perspective of the Honolulu Police Department. It was an honor to wear that badge. It was an honor to work with the people that I worked with. And I saw wonderful things when I went to work. I saw heroic things. I saw officers doing things that the average dude couldn't do. And Phil, I would challenge you that if you aren't willing to do what those officers are willing to do, then I would reserve your judgment. Now, I don't know what you went through. I don't know what you experienced, what somebody did to you. But if someone did something bad to you, that was the exception, not the rule. There are douchebags everywhere. There are douchebags in the construction industry. There are douchebag secretaries. There are douchebags that work at the DMV, that work at Walmart. And there are douchebags that work at the police department. But they do not represent the rest of us. And I put everything on that. Those are facts. Millions and millions of police interactions every single year. Hundreds of millions. That go wonderful. And I will tell you this. I shouldn't say never, for being honest. Tons of criminals told me I was a criminal. That they were going to sue me. But that's what they say. That's what they do. When you chase them and arrest them and they fight you, if they get worked, they're like, oh, you can't do that? You know how many times I had someone say, you can't do that to me? While they were fighting me? I'm sorry, when you're fighting me, my job is to get you in custody. There's a use of force continuum, and we go up that continuum. But you're not getting away. And I will match the force that you use against me. And then they say, I can't do that to them? I can't punch you because you were punching me? Am I supposed to let you punch me? So I've had dozens of criminals say that I was a criminal. But I never had a law-abiding citizen tell me that cops are criminals. Most of the time people thank you. You arrest them and they say, you know, officer, you're a good guy. I'm sorry I ran from you. I know you're doing what you got to do. It just sucks for me. But one day I'll see you when I get out. And I hope we could say, what's up? We can shake hands. That's happened innumerable times. That's what I love about Hawaii. More often than not, the people that you arrest, especially if they're local, they know what they did wrong, they take it on the chin, and they move on. They seek forgiveness. I've run into people years later who recognized me at Sam's Club. I remember this one time, Sam's Club, Pearl City. And a guy came up to me and was like, you remember me? And I could remember his face, but I didn't know his name. He said, "You arrested me that one time." He said, "I just want to say thank you. I got my life together. And I appreciate you for treating me good." And I'm not alone in that. We tell those stories all the time. All my beat partners got those stories. So I'm sorry you feel that way, but that's not the truth. Kanaka Hawaii says, "We got a troll in the hale." I know. But he's trolling now, but it's my hope that before all's said and done, that he's being honest with himself and he come around. Especially if he's a local boy. He will. Because they got that in him. He probably just speaking out of hurt. Or embarrassment or whatever. But he'll come around. Kapoi Kai Lion says, "The witness was on the news. I think she was an auntie." Shoo. Could have been. If that's the case, I take it all back. I just don't know how an auntie could watch you smoke ice. Try to give it to the baby. That don't make sense. Something ain't right about that. Bro, if I walk in and my brother's smoking ice trying to give his baby crystal meth, you better believe I'm doing something. That baby's coming with me. And I'm telling my brother, the baby's mine until you get your stuff together. Got to go rehab. Got to do whatever you got to do. Go in the program. Turn yourself in. And then you do that. And then we'll see what the future holds. So that's messed up if that was an auntie. Watch him do all that. Brother, I knew the father and the mother of the baby. They Batu heads. They no good. Makes sense. Makes sense. I don't know them. You can say that. And I respect that. And that's consistent with what my experience shows. If you're an ice head, if you ask me, only an ice head is going to give their baby to another ice head. But like I said, I don't know. Television show. I have 3 relatives from Honolulu police that retired years early because of their poor conditions. I pray for you. Well, thank you for that. I do too. I know good cops that retired early because they could see the writing on the wall. Mass exodus of officers. And then they changed the contract. So many of our institutions need to rip up the current systems and start over from scratch, says MR. I agree. Calais said, "I've never done this stuff before and really wouldn't know the first thing about the drug until I saw my coworker that day." I've never done it either. I'm scared to do it. You remember that whole Not Even Once campaign? I don't know what happened to it. When I first came to Hawaii, there was that campaign that I saw all over the news. It was Not Even Once. I think it was notevenonce.com. I don't remember. But that's the truth. I have met 2 people in my life who used to smoke ice, who were like full-blown chronic. Like Chinatown, homeless, ice smoking, hanging out Pauahi and Bishop, sleeping on the corner. Smith Beartania Park, who beat it and now are sober. Because of this channel, I found a few people that used to smoke ice who now are clean, but they weren't like full-blown turned over chronics. They might have been addicts, but those of you who've experienced it, you know what I mean. There's something about crystal meth that takes your soul. It takes your civilization away. You become like an animal. You don't think like a human anymore. You think like an animal. Pure instinct. It's like your emotions go out the window and all you got is that reptile brain. And then we have mental illness, and then good luck getting rid of that. So I know one person personally, and he was at the Mission and River of Life, and then he finally got sober and he's good to go. And then I have one person that told me that they used to be, but I never saw them like that. So that's 2 people out of hundreds, probably thousands, that I've met or arrested who beat it. So shout out to all you guys who used to smoke ice and beat it. Or if you're trying to beat it, because that's a long road. That's a tough hill to climb. I would venture to say that that's Hawaii's biggest problem, not the politics. It's crystal meth. You got the user side of it, those that are smoking ice, that lost their soul, that are just I bet you everyone who lives in Hawaii who's in my chat right now, you've had something stolen from you. A bike out of your backyard, skateboard, slippers from the front porch. And mark my words, the dude who took them smokes ice. I bet you can attribute all the property crime to the ice epidemic. So that's the user side. Then you got people selling it. Where's the ice coming from? We know it's being shipped and it's coming through the mail. People don't make ice in Hawaii anymore. It's not like it used to be. It used to be clan labs. Remember when they used to make ice? Be like a trailer or a house. We went through training in academy of how to spot a clan lab in case you walked in and saw the chemicals so you didn't blow yourself up. They don't do that anymore. It costs too much to make your own. It's too much hassle, too much trouble to make your own. You used to have to strip the battery and do all this stuff with the chemicals to make ice. Now, the cartel ice, the crystal meth we get from the Mexican cartels in Hawaii, that's where it comes from right now. It's cheaper and better. That's cartel drugs. If you know someone smoking ice, they're smoking cartel drugs. So between the users that are dying and hurting people and stealing from people, the people that are killing their baby girls, and then on the other side you got people making all the money, turning a blind eye, looking the other way, letting this package go through, letting this container come through. I'm willing to bet that crystal meth is Hawaii's #1 problem. Christian Howe said, I know some guys that used to smoke so much batu, now they don't anymore. They still get the fidgety habits and their jaw is just going. Typically how it starts is they smoke ice. And they smoke it out of the pipe. The pipe is the one with the bulbous end on the end. It looks like a beaker with a round bottom. And they drop the rock inside. And then they heat them up. They heat them up from the bottom and smoke it. And then eventually it's not fast enough and they start slamming it. So they melt it in a spoon, they shoot it in their vein. And when you're shooting ice, good luck with that. There's no coming back from that. Pamela said, I hit the subscribe and hit the bell, but didn't get a notification either. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. That's frustrating. I'm sorry about that. Hawaii really does need tougher laws all around. My friend Tafflinger tells me about a lot of the messed up crap that goes on. Yeah, I know Taff. I don't know if you're talking about her or her husband, but good people. Real good people. Shout out to them. He was a lieutenant when I left. One thing prisoners hate is chomos and hurting little ones. He better PC up once they find out his paperwork. It's hell on earth will be pain. From Abe Mossman. I bet. So I never worked in the prison because I wasn't a sheriff, but I talked to a few. My good friend, my brother, my partner for the last 4 or 5 years, he used to work over there. That's what he used to say. Lizzo Chaffin said, I'm a cardiac nurse and work at Queens, so we get all homeless meth addicts. I intercepted heroin hidden in donuts that a boyfriend was dropping off to my patient. No way. Nice grab, Lizzo. How did you intercept that? Should be a cop. I want to hear more stories from you, Lizzo. Did you ever work ER at Queens? My wife's a nurse, so shout out to you. Thank you for what you do. It is not an easy job. I know you've shed many tears. I know you've been scared before. I know you've been there when people freaked out, fought the police. I know you probably had to call the police. So thank you for what you do. Nurses are heroes. I got a soft spot in my heart because my wife was an emergency room nurse for 10 years before we had our second baby, and she started staying home. So, and then every time I went to Queens, you know, before we drop people off at the desk at CRD, we got to bring them to Queens to make sure they're okay, especially if they say they're hurt or they got an infection on their leg or whatever, because we can't have them dying on us and we'll get sued. We'd bring them to Queens to get the clearance. Can't tell you how many times they freak out. We're fighting in the emergency room, and the poor nurses, what are you going to do? I got tools. I got handcuffs. I got all these things I can do. These nurses not going to, what are they going to do? And they're all stink, nasty. Kakio's. You guys are heroes. And EMTs. I just got my book today, said Hawaiian Soul. I can't wait to start that. So anyone who's in here don't know what's going on, we are starting next week. I don't want to say book club because it's not a book club, but because I read this book and I talk about it all the time, Sunny Skies, Shady Characters by James Dooley. I reached out to James Dooley today. See if I can't get a deal on the books for the future. But we're going to go through this book together. So go ahead and order the book. There's a link in the description of the last 2 videos of how to get it. I will leave it in this description as well for people that watch it after it loads. It takes like 24 hours to load or process before you'll see that link. But go ahead and order your book. We're going to go through it. I haven't figured out how I'm going to do it yet. I'm still working on that. And we're going to go through it chapter by chapter and talk about it. We might do Zoom videos or whatever. I know a lot of you will have insight. A lot of you will know people that are in the book. It's going to get real interesting. So go ahead and order yours if you haven't. If you can't afford the book, shoot me a DM on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. You can find me at Doug Korenic on all platforms, and we'll try to take care of you. I think it'll be real fun. Everybody should read that book. Pamela Perry said aloha. Aloha, Pamela. Miss Hona said I knew good cops when I lived there. Jovan said, yo, can you please tell me why nobody from the Justice Office here in the White House sends someone to clean up that island? The crime in Hawaii is crazy, just like Puerto Rico. Sad, bro. Very sad. Bro, they got enough going on, to be honest with you. States are independent for a reason. Supposed to clean themselves up. there is local FBI offices, and Kenji Price is doing a great job. That's sad that he got pulled out. So many of you reached out to me about Kenji Price. That was a sad one. Man, I'm a fan of Kenji Price. He's the Attorney General. He got replaced, which is typical, I guess. That when a new president comes in, they swap out Attorney Generals, but he didn't do it to all of them. From what I read today, Biden didn't replace them all. And if you're not going to replace them all, why Kenji Price? If anyone had a reason not to be replaced, it was Kenji Price. I'm going to reach out to Kenji Price, see if I can't get him on the podcast. I would love to talk to that dude. That'd be great to have him. Does anybody know Kenji? Anybody go to school, Kenji? If you did, reach out to me. I'd like to talk to him. Everybody was a fan of that dude. Man, that was great. I loved what he was doing. Kai Bull said, you know, Paul Tawaese, this guy broke into my home and got arrested, but seen him on the street the next day. I don't know that name. Be a hero or sit down, said Straight Out Aloha. I like that. Keoki Puahi. Aloha, my brother, from Eva Beach. Aloha, Keoki. Eva Beach. Deep on the west side. Mikey, what's up, Doug? Thank you, bro. Love the videos. Thank you, Mikey. Thanks for coming through, man. I appreciate the support. I can't say enough about you guys. You guys are the best. 808 says, ever work District 4? I worked special duty in District 4. I never got assigned to District 4. I lived in District 4, so I never work where I live. I had too much going on. I didn't want people to know where I lived. So as long as I got to drive through the tunnel to go home, but work on the other side of the tunnel, I was happy with that. Because so many times we run into people as policemen. Think about it. There's over 2,000 cops on Oahu. And I arrest bad dudes for a living. I've had to leave restaurants because dudes were in there that I was investigating. When I was undercover, my family flew all the way from Detroit to come visit. And I had just gone undercover. And I'm standing in line at the Pancake House at Original Pancake House, Dillingham. My favorite place for pancakes. Get the poi pancakes. It's got that lily koi butter. Does not get better. And I brought my whole family. I'm talking 10 people. Uncles, aunties, mom, stepdad. I'm waiting in line. That line's long in the morning. And I look up. And a dude that I know, that I was investigating, was like 4 people ahead of me in the line. And I knew he was going to run into me because I was undercover. I was trying to buy into him. And we had a protocol. I told my wife, if I walk away, you cannot ask questions. Don't call my name. Don't say, babe, why are you leaving? Doug, what are you doing? But if I put the kids down or hand you the kids and I walk away, just call me on my phone. And she's a champ. We had gone through the protocol. I just walked away. Said, I got to go. Went and sat in the car. My family ate with my wife and kids. For an hour, I sat in the car. Until that person left and I go in and catch the last 5 minutes. So that stuff happens all the time. So I didn't want to work where I lived. Because I didn't want them to follow me home. I'm gone all day. I had babies. I lived in the country. There was 5 acres. I lived in a kind of a family compound where there was like 5 other houses. It was on a 5-acre lot on Ahuimanu. And my wife had called me plenty of times when I was at work saying somebody's in our yard, somebody looking in the windows. I'll tell that story one day. That's another crazy story. And I just couldn't risk that. I couldn't risk being in town 20 minutes away and something happens at my house and I can't get back. It's a helpless feeling when I got to call dispatch. When I got to call my dispatch and say, I need you to send units to my house. Somebody's looking at my windows. And the cops are always thinking that is it somebody that found out where I live. Somebody I arrested that they got let out because the prosecution was weak. And now they come looking for me because I'm the only witness. I'm the one that saw what they did. I'm the one standing between them and 10 years in prison. So that's why I never worked in District 4, because I lived Kahalu. And District 4 is massive though. It goes from Kahuku all the way to Kailua. Think about that. Kahuku, Kailua. One district. So it's a massive district. But my partner works in Kaneohe right now. Loving it out there. Stay patrolling, not trolling. Love it. Straight out of Aloha with the Chihu. Hard job. You got to deal with the shenanigans daily. Not a career I'd be interested in anymore. Never done ice. I've seen my family and other close family friends go into that meth hole. Watching and experiencing the family self-destruct taught me enough not to touch it. Cook rice, not ice. I hear you, girl. Yep, get plenty chronic living in the pineapple fields now. Ooh, really? Huh. Wailua. I'm guessing you're talking about Wailua. That's where I was trying to move before I left. My dream was to buy an ag lands Wailua. Have a little farm. Sell some stuff roadside to justify the ag land because you get an ag loan. That would have been my dream. Still my dream. One day I'm gonna have a little place, Wailua, so I can grow some crops, feed the family, friends and family over. We should have more funding for meth recovery programs. Yep, that's a good idea. Abe Mossman said there is a program that's free for locals on drugs, Habilitat in Kaneohe and China Mauka. I think you meant Hinamauka. Probably auto-corrected you. Yeah, he put Hinamauka. Yep. Yeah, I had that one place on Ahuimanu Road and the Kahakili right on the corner. And they had those little yurts that people used to stay in. I live right behind there. Ice been around for over 40 years in Hawaii. My auntie would deal in the 80s. Yep. 40 years. Meth addicts look scary and zombie-like. Part of their recovery should be going to schools to scare the kids straight. Bro, it definitely scares kids. My kids knew what ice had looked like. It's crazy now because in Michigan, there's no chronics. First of all, nobody smokes ice in Michigan. Like, it's very rare. When I saw that dude, one of my contractors, who was an ice head, I couldn't believe it. Because it's the only one I've seen in the last 3 years since I've been here. People smoke crack in the hood, but not ice. I got family members smoke crack. I have pictures of the heroin and the insulin syringes and also the bag of heroin. The syringes were stuffed behind a long john. Send me that. Lizzo, DM me that photo. I'd love to see that photo. Syringes stuffed behind a long john. And the heroin was in the insulin syringes. Yep. Rigs, we call them. They will put the heroin in the insulin rig. I know officers been poked while going through pockets. I've pulled so many syringes out of pockets. We're in on this book club. Well, my wife reads it. I listen. Kanaka, Hawaii. That's awesome. I'm glad you're down. I think I might even do one where I read. I might just record me reading. For those that just listen, that don't have the time to read, I might do something like that. Like do a membership where you pay $2 or whatever and I'll read it. Kakio. Good word. Yeah, I guess I pick up some things from all my brothers and sisters. Madman XX167. I read XXL67. I read that book. It's good. Never knew that side of Don Ho. I know. Don Ho. Hard to talk about that one. Hard to talk about. That's touchy. Never knew Don Ho associated with those figures. Yeah, Don Ho was like the Frank Sinatra. He was like the Hawaiian Frank Sinatra. Same thing. He was wrapped up. But at a certain point, you're wrapped up. You cannot get out. Once you owe people, they own you. So you're like a slave. Off topic. I miss spam and rice. Don't we all? I still eat spam and rice. I'm not going to lie. We can still get spam out here. My wife cooks mean rice in a pot. We don't use no Tiger rice cookers. First finger, first knuckle. Do you think with the, Jovan Lopez says, do you think with the replacement of Kenji Price, the Mike Miskey case is going to go downhill? What do you think, bro? I don't know. It's definitely a risk. Yeah, his last date's February 21st, 2021. I'm going to send him an email. And I recommend you do too, because he was doing good stuff. I'm just going to tell him thank you. Pamela Santos Bermudez. I worked with James Dooley at the Honolulu Advertiser for 20 years. His office and editorial was right near mine, and the backshot production. I want to be in the book reading club. Okay, Pamela. Well, email me, dougkorenic@gmail.com. Or you can do it, doug@dougkorenic.com. Email me. And then I'm going to do a video, and I'll announce how we're going to do it, and then we'll set it up. It's going to be next week sometime, okay? Lizzo said, so the story behind the heroin donuts was the boyfriend first tried to come up to the floor, and my charge nurse asked if I told him it was okay. It was after hours, so definitely did not say okay. That was the red flag. 76 South. Got it on D4. Aloha. Played basketball against him. Great guy. Kenji Price. That's cool. Green Bottles 808. His mom was our vice principal in high school. No way. What high school you went? Lizzo Chaffin. Then boyfriend dropped off a $5 Friday box of donuts on Wednesday to security by ER. Look at you. Like a detective. Dropped off a $5 Friday box of donuts on Wednesday to security by ER. I went to go pick up the box, and as I was coming up the elevator, I was trying to read the graffiti on the box. I noticed the box was all stickered up closed. Thought it was weird, so I just looked closer. Opened the box, the elevator on the way up, and the syringes were stuffed under the long john. Man, Lizzo Chaffin. Impressive. Love those stories. JSS Roll 60 said, what up, Doug? Aloha. Thanks for coming in. I don't know your real name, but I imagine you rode jiu-jitsu. But what's up? Thanks for coming through. And now that I've been rolling, anybody who does jiu-jitsu, let me know. When I come out, we'll roll. I've been having fun with that. Yes, I love Wailua, said straight out aloha. They're living between the coffee shop and Navy Satellite Station. Oh, they're living between Wailua. Is it the Wailua coffee shop? And the Navy Satellite Station? Whitmore by Wahoo. Yeah. That makes sense. that makes sense. I worked in Wahiawa for a long time. Remember the Carlston Thop Bridge? When the bridge had to be redone in like 2012? I spent months every single day doing traffic by the Carlston Thop Bridge because it was all shut down. Good luck if you lived in Wahiawa and you had to drive to town or anywhere. It was traffic. It was a nightmare. Johnny Walker. I rolled up to my boy at FEMNU who was an undercover to say aloha, and he just gave me this look, and I knew he was on the job, so I just passed him up. A couple of days later, he told me he was deep undercover, and thanks for not blowing it. Good move, Johnny. That's a good friend. Yeah. We were told in Academy if you run into a classmate and you go to not say hello, and they say hello first, because you never know if people are undercover. And I had one dude I ran into. He was an officer, and I was undercover. He walked up to me, and you could tell the look in my face, and he didn't say nothing. I was grateful for that. Damn, we got to eat dinner. Bummed I missed the live that I finally caught. Thanks for coming through, Darcy. It's okay. I'm logging off now. I got about 1 minute. If the banyan tree by Hygienic Store could talk, you right about that. Dealing ice is not worth it. The reward is not worth the penalty. You get too many years. That's facts. Doing ice is bad too. Lost too many people to that mentally. They're not there anymore. Maybe back in the late 90s, early 2000s in the islands, but now the price of ice ain't worth nothing. I just Instagram DM'd you the pictures of the heroin donuts. Nice. Thank you. Let me know if I can share them. DM me if I can share that photo, because everybody that logged on this live will probably want to see it. What a great story. The swamp needs to be drained so the meth is no longer allowed to be shipped to the state. Got to get to the root of the problems like anything else. Can't keep battling the symptoms. Facts, Green Bottles 808. Kenji was doing a great job with that, and Biden ruined it for the people of Hawaii. But do you really think that guy from the Miski crew tried to get all that at that Kailua Ranch is going to stand in the trial and talk in the case, but then walk around Hawaii in the streets, be cool with it? Oh, I think you mean the Kualoa Ranch. I think you're talking about Cowboy. Yeah, he's gonna testify. I think he's gonna testify. I don't know. I don't know how cool everybody's gonna be with it, but I think everybody be cool with it because Mike will be done. Everybody was sick of him. Okay. Well, I got all those comments. So I appreciate you guys. I got to cut off. It's late over here. It is 20 after midnight. I got to work in the morning. So, hey, I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for coming through. You're the best. I love you guys. I got a great team out here. All 75 of you that were hanging out in the chat. Couldn't do without you. It was a blast. I'm having fun. And I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm so sorry to the family. And I'm so sorry to people of Hawaii that had to go through this and see what's happening. I'm praying for the family. And I'm praying that they find what they got to find. Praying for the officers. Hawaiian soul, aloha. I love you guys. And until the next time, aloha.